Hello and welcome to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure you find the Raptors Show where we listen to podcasts and subscribe, and please rate and review the show. I'm your host, Wayne Lou, co-host Blake Murphy to my left. And yeah, I mean, look, it's been a few days since the Raptors have played, so we kind of ran out of ideas. And so as we do...
By the way, hang on. You know it's only raining outside, not in the studio, right?
Oh, this jacket's too drippy to just wear outside. I need to wear it on camera as well.
It is a good jacket, but
Thank you.
Yeah, it does look like you're ready for drips from the ceiling, not just that drip on your shoulders.
Well, you never know what's going to happen in this studio. People just pop in and out randomly.
You look good, though.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, so we're kind of out of ideas, at least for right now. So we decided to open up the Twitter mailbag. So really appreciate everyone on Twitter doing our jobs for us and sending in questions. So
the only other thing we could ask really is if someone wants to fire a coach mid-show or make a trade mid-show again,
sure,
you have the green light from us.
Bobby, I know you're picking up your kids probably right now. Actually, this is probably a little early for that, but who knows? Yeah, just go ahead and make a trade right now. Like, just let us know. Maybe text one of us. You probably know Blake better, but just text one of us and just let us know that we can pit off of these. But no, but seriously, we got a lot of great mailbag questions, so appreciate everyone who sent them in. We got quite a few, so we can't get to everybody, but I think we got the most topical ones. I went through about 2 hours ago now and just combed through some of these, and yeah, we will go as quickly as we can through some of these. Of course, as always, we got an assortment of questions. So we got Raptors-specific questions about this team and this group. We have former Raptor questions because there's lots of those, and we continue to see OG and Pascal do well. Both of them got wins last night in the association. We got Raptors adjacent, which is probably more off-court Raptors versus just on the court. And then we got our regular miscellaneous questions that we will get to. I know Jurgen Klopp was asked a lot in my mentions and how I feel about Jurgen Klopp leaving, and the answer is I'm ready to quit sports for a while because that one's so devastating. But we'll start with some Raptors ones. Blake, I'll throw this one at you. This one's from PK. Now that we have a clear stated direction for, quote, development this season, see Darko's quote about not playing zone to allow for more man-to-man reps, et cetera, how should we as fans be watching and responding to the team? It's hard not to expect wins after the last decade, but here we are.
Yeah, I mean, the real answer to this one, PK, is I'm not here to police how people are fans. Like, if you want to tune out, you can do that. You don't want to tune out the games that are on Sportsnet or on Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Yeah. You just maybe have them on so the ratings are still there. You just pay a little less attention. I think in seriousness, you're probably a lot less invested in the outcomes. And in the Tampa tank, we saw that people got really, really invested in negative outcomes. But this year, where the Raptors don't control their own pick, and even if they bottomed out as far as they can in the standings, we're talking about a 45 and change % chance at keeping the pick. And then there's some debate as to whether keeping the pick is a good thing or keeping the pick is a bad thing. So there's a lot of personal preference involved in what happens the rest of the way. I think the couple of main things you're looking at, obviously Scotty's development is the first thing you care about. How Emmanuel Quickley and RJ look around that. If, post deadline, I would hope there are some younger pieces getting opportunities. We might see Javon Freeman-Liberty tonight. We've seen Jonte Porter. Who knows? Maybe someone gets a shot from the G League, or you pick up another fringe prospect type at the deadline. What those guys look like, what that development is like, is the thing I care about the most. I don't imagine after 2 weeks from now anyone's going to care that much about the actual wins and losses. Just what they signal about, are things working? Are things moving in the right direction process-wise?
Yeah, look, I think it's not going to be as bad as Tampa. Tampa got to the point where it was a whole bunch of healthy guys were sitting out, which was frustrating but understandable. And then by the end, it was that game 82 or whatever game it was, the final game of the season. I forget if that season was shortened. I don't think so. So probably game 82.
It was game 72.
Game 72? Okay, there we go. And it was I don't know, on August, which was weird too.
We're going to do this right now. We're going to do a little Tampa trivia.
Okay, good. I'm ready for this one.
Okay, so in that game, first of all, they lost to Indiana.
Yep.
Who were a bad team as well. O'Shea Brissett dropped a 30-piece on them after having been cut in camp that year.
How many putbacks is that? Damn.
He only had one offensive rebound that game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, O'Shea, my bad.
Yeah. You know who else had an appearance in that game, which is really funny to think back on now? Gogo Batadze at the end of the season, trying to stick for the Pacers. Right. But the Raptors only played 6 players in this game.
Yeah. They dressed 7, but one of them didn't play. Yeah.
Of the 6 players who played, 3 of them were centers, and they played at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
At one point. So can you remember the 6 players who played?
Okay, so the 3 centers were Kem Birch, Freddie Gillespie, and Aaron Baines. Aaron Baines functionally played 3 for a lot of that game.
14 and 10 off the bench. They had 3 threes.
I remember watching that game and just laughing like deliriously because they had him coming around like pin downs and stuff and catching and shooting off the move.
Yeah.
It was amazing. And like out of timeouts, like that was a direct play that they had called.
Kem took 3 3-point attempts and had 4 assists in that game, which I'm not going to look it up, but those got to be close to career highs.
Yeah. The guards were Malachi and I hope Jalen Harris got in.
Nope.
Jalen Harris didn't even get in. So DeAndre Bembry played.
Yeah. And
then the last forward, I mean, I'm going to guess like Stanley Johnson.
Yeah, Stanley Johnson had 24, 5, and 7.
24, 5, and 7.
Yeah, but he shot 33% and 25% on threes.
He had a Ben Uzo triple-double, basically.
Yeah.
Wow. So, anyway, my point is it's not going to be that bad.
No.
Because you are already starting with, you're still going to see Scotty every game. You're still going to see RJ every game, Quickley every game. Compared to the Tampa thing, it's not that level, right? So, it's more of like, yes, they're not going to like win games nearly as much, but it's not going to hit the lows that I don't think that those have already happened. I think
look
the
at
other
this
thing too is just like
the 6 guys
hit lows. They lost to the Pistons.
Yeah, and the 6 guys we just named, Malachi was someone you thought would be a piece of the future, and that was worth watching.
Sure.
But he's not like a franchise player. You were like, maybe he could be a rotation guard. Freddie Gillespie was a successful 10-day contract that was on a deal where it was like maybe he could stick. Like they had to cut him by summer league if he wasn't going to stick around. Right. That's the level that we're talking about. And Kem, Aaron Baines, DeAndre Bembry, and Stanley Johnson, everyone knew they weren't a part of the future. At least this year, you're evaluating pieces that are clearly a part of the future in a couple of cases, and then clearly trying to be a part of the future in a couple other cases.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's not going to be consequential. But I mean, listen, I totally sympathize with the idea that, because it's something I feel too. For the last 10 years, we've had 9 winning seasons.
Yeah.
So you need to like you do need to sort of like adjust apparently, which is difficult. Anyway, Aiden, next question from Aiden. Do you think RJ's production is sustainable? So RJ is shooting 56% from the field and averaging over 20 a game. Blake, is this sustainable?
Yeah, the 56% from the field is not, but the way he's played, the counting stats, I think are fairly sustainable. Like we've seen RJ be a 20-point-a-game guy. You know, his 3-point percentage is at 38% right now. Maybe that doesn't stick around, although he's had a season at 40%. But I think the more important thing is the way RJ's offense is coming about is something that absolutely makes sense within the context of this team. He's scoring in transition and being a big part of that identity. He's working on the second side of the floor and really attacking, you know, late closeouts, attacking seams in the defense, things like that. It's a little less stationary catch and shoot than he was doing in New York, and a little less the ball swings to you and you've got to create something one-on-one. It's a lot more flow of the offense stuff. I would guess the efficiency is going to come down. I just don't think, 56%.
56 is high.
Yeah, especially when like you're not an elite finisher. And he's finished at
I don't know. He's been a good finisher, I feel like.
He's at 75% as a Raptor finishing at the rim. He's at 61% for his career.
Okay. All
so
right.
like even though he should be better than 61% for his career, he's very, very strong. He was at like 64% last year, 62% with the Knicks before this season. So like he's capable of doing that, but 75% is crazy. And then like even the mid range is up around 50%, which probably settles into like the mid 40s. So there will be like little things that dip the efficiency. But I think where his scoring stuff is coming from is entirely sustainable. The one thing that I would like to see come from it a little bit more is I think he's shown nice flashes of passing more than he got to in New York. And I think that can go higher.
I agree.
So if the scoring efficiency dips off, I think he can actually make up for that by being even more of a playmaker.
So this is what I like. So since joining the Raptors, RJ, I think, has taken 170 total shots. 110 of those have come within 5 feet of the basket.
It's a good way to live.
And so that's exactly what you want to see from him. He's getting downhill a lot. 2 out of those 170 are from mid-range right now. He's literally 1 for 2. But the most important thing is he's only taking 2 mid-range. He's not even taking long, or second box jumpers, what David Thorpe likes to describe them as. The 3-point shooting, whatever. I mean, even having seen him like warm up and stuff like that, like he's inconsistent even in warm ups. Yeah. So that's going to come up and down. He's going to go through stretches where he's cold. He's going to have some stretches where he's good. That's going to settle in where it is. But as long as he's keeping that rate high, whereas 6'4" guard, he's consistently shooting at the rim. I don't see why his shooting percentage can't be, in the 48 to 50 range, considering you're pretty much only taking basket shots.
Yeah, I think that's a reasonable expectation. He didn't shoot that well in New York, but again, more volume of three in New York than maybe he'll need to take in Toronto. Toronto's going to emphasize the transition game more than New York did, obviously under Tibbs, where that's not as big a priority. So
yeah, I thought I saw this theory too, and it makes sense to me, but I want to ask you as well. So the Knicks obviously had Julius Randle, who's a lefty, Jalen Brunson, who's a lefty as well, and especially I think in the case of Randle, don't they kind of occupy in the same spots? Because if you want to essentially get him going downhill, you probably want him on the left side so that he can, or on the right side so that he can dribble,
attack middle
with his left hand and finish strong like that. Now that RJ is in a spot where I guess there's not as many lefties and the floor maybe is more open, whatever, can that contribute to him being more efficient too?
Maybe a little bit. I think more than the lefty thing, it is that him and Randall would occupy similar spaces.
Okay,
And the one other thing about lefties that crossed my mind when the Raptors were playing RJ, Thad, and Jonte all at the same time, because they had three lefties in there, is if your three best scoring options as the Knicks are lefties, we've joked a little bit about how sometimes RJ being a lefty or anyone being a lefty catches defenses off guard. You just you just space on it for a second, and you're so used to 70% of guys you are sending left or whatever. If a team's top three scorers are all lefties, that's probably the number one thing on your defensive scout, right?
Absolutely.
Is, everyone's lefty. The floor's inverted. And maybe now you get a little bit more advantage of that. I think it's probably only a small thing. The occupying the same spots as Randall is probably a bigger component of that. And it's probably why the Knicks had RJ be the guy who came off first and then came back in to help with bench units to separate him and Randall out a little bit.
Right. Also, the Knicks look awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
They just destroyed the Nuggets yesterday, man. Like, they just beat them from start to finish kind of deal.
Yeah.
And,
they're real good.
OG. What was this plus minus last night? It was like plus 30 something.
It's so comically high for the season.
Because I was watching like parts of the game. I eventually got to the point where it was such a blowout, I didn't even want to watch it anymore. But it's honestly, the Knicks have been so impressive to watch, man. OG, 6 steals last night. Going up against Jokic. He wasn't guarding Jokic. He was guarding Murray. But he also really kept the lid up. Man, Murray shot 3 of 11 in 30 minutes. Jamal Murray. So OG really blanketed him. OG plus 38 in this game.
Plus 38.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Made 3 threes. A whole bunch of pick sixes for dunks. Yeah, everyone's loving our former Raptors.
The OG pick six. It's great. Yeah.
You know what?
Now the Pacers actually won a game.
And the Pacers won a game. So, let's get to those. So I mentioned we had some former Raptors-specific questions. This one comes from Patrick. Please explain, how is it that OG is a star in New York with a bigger role and a payday to come? Pascal Siakam had a triple-double in Indiana and said, quote, I want to make this home, about Indiana, while Precious plays 23 minutes, yet this couldn't work in Toronto. P.S. Tyrese Halliburton is 23.
Yeah. So the Tyrese part of that is, I assume, when you talk about the timeline questions with Pascal and Scotty, and that Tyrese is only 18 months older than Scotty. Like, is it that big a difference? And I mentioned this in an article recently of like, if Scotty jumps to the Tyrese level next year, maybe you're in the exact opposite position next deadline.
Sure.
And that's going to dictate a lot of it. Now, as for why this didn't work in Toronto, it is.
It just wasn't working. They lost to the Pistons.
It's part of why they dragged it out, though, right? It's part of why Masai had the patience to run it back, is if everyone is offering you a lot for your players and everyone thinks your players are really good, how could you not in the back of your head be like, well, what if we keep it together and they're good? Now, they did that a little too long and a little too far, but it is kind of a curiosity that you had OG and Pascal and Fred and Jakob and Scotty at different points and together for some small stretches, and it just didn't click. Now, some of that owes to fit. Some of that owes to there were just like guy in, then a guy out, guy in, then a guy out. It just didn't work out. The answer to the Precious part of this is he's Precious Achua, and the first 8 games he played with the Knicks fans wanted a refund. They wanted store credit. They were like, hey, could we get Jordan Nwora and you just take Precious Achua back, redo that traded player exception?
I do that trade, absolutely.
And now he looks like he's a guy for them. I know he only had 2 points last night, but
he was great on the glass. He was getting offensive rebounds. He's playing in his role way more than he was in Toronto. So,
but this is also it's only been I think 4 games that Precious has been doing this after a bunch of games where he looked like he, didn't have a fit there. So all I'm saying is that the answer to the Precious Achua part of it is he's Precious Achiuwa, and it's probably going to go back the other way at some point.
Look, listen, we know that he's got like a bad play in him, but I think it's also you're at a new company, like you're on your best behavior for at least a probation period
until your benefits hit. Yeah.
So in Precious's case, that would be like until he gets his next contract. He's played well, like he really has. Yeah. I wonder when like they eventually do get fully healthy, are they going to be using him as much? But he's sliding well. I think context is such a big part of this, right? Like OG in New York, the whole team plays super physical. There's way more space on the floor. There's not an onus for OG to create his own offense as much. And then you just also see when you jump into a winning environment, like how much that sort of spurs a guy onward. You see OG, like he's yelling and celebrating, and like it's like a different guy almost. Like it's still OG, we recognize him, but he's so vocal. The whole team has an incredible swagger right now. The Knicks, like OG looks like a different guy, and then Pascal definitely is in a situation where there's so much spacing. Like he's playing alongside a floor stretching five. It's easy for him to play now in space. He's playing attacking one-on-one. And, of course, they haven't even won that much yet. They're 1-3 with him. But that's without Halliburton in for a lot of that. So I think it's just, the team fit in Toronto clearly wasn't working. You just have to refer to some of the earlier games.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's stick there because the next Raptors question, specific question, is kind of depressing. This one from Bob Loblaw.
Oh, yeah, from his law blog.
Yes.
Bob Loblaw's blog.
There you go. From the era where blogs were still a thing. Harder to watch the Raptors really struggle, or is it harder to watch OG and Pascal thrive on other teams?
Harder to watch the Raptors struggle. I'm happy the other guys are playing well on other teams. One, you get to know those guys and get to root for them. I want to see them have success. It gives you a rooting interest in these games that don't involve the Raptors the rest of the way. I don't know. Those are your guys. Like, it would be...
Those are Raptors. Like those are career Raptors to me.
Yeah, like if Precious suddenly was a 30-minute-a-game starter for the Knicks and was unbelievable, that I would understand being like, what the heck? It's not fair that didn't happen here. OG and Pascal...
Dude, we know who they are, man.
They were very good Raptors, and I will want them to have success up until the point the Raptors see them in the playoffs at some point deep in the future.
Yeah, and for Pascal specifically, I want Pascal to have success, and I want the Pacers to lose so our pick is better. But that's a different thing altogether.
Yeah, but you don't want them to lose too much because it's top 3 protected. So you want them to lose, but then not do too good in the lottery. So.
This is becoming America Ferrara's rant and Barbie now.
Yeah. It's just, or honestly, it's going to get further to the, like if we get down to the play-in tournament and the Pacers are in the play-in, not the playoff, and then the Raptors pick is also up in the air because of the draft lottery, like there are going to be so many scenarios to play out where like the Raptors have 2 picks in the lottery, the Raptors have no picks in the lottery, the Raptors have only 1 pick in the lottery. It's I
miss the good old days where it was just a pick is a pick, you get their pick, that's it. But I mean, front office has gotten smarter. Okay, speaking of front offices, this one, actually, I forgot the name, I'm sorry. But the question is, can you shed some light on the front office / ownership dynamics around the pressure to fill seats and maintain fandom while knowing that there's going to be a multi-year grind ahead?
So this is, honestly, the answer to this one is we'll see. I have mentioned on air before that the Raptors' attendance right now is the lowest it's been since Masai took over, basically. But they are still at over 99% capacity. We haven't seen an impact on ticket sales yet. We haven't seen an impact on attendance yet. I do think we've seen an impact on how loud and invested the crowds are, but the seats are still sold and there are people in the seats. So
I mean, people are going to go loud for losing against Memphis.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a thing to consider. Certainly there's going to be a trickle down with like merch and stuff like that. Like they're just I don't know. Actually, maybe everyone has to replace their Pascal and OG jerseys, so merch gets a boom. But this is a kind of a multi-year question, right? Like I think we're going to see. I think it's a couple weeks from now that the season ticket renewal notices go out, and we'll see because there's inflation in those every single year. And I'm curious, how much
they increased our prices again.
They probably will, but like
that's just bad.
So
business.
what I'm curious about is that like a 5% increase instead of a 15% increase? Is there an acknowledgement of that?
You're allowed an inflation amount of a bump. Like you can get like your typical 3%, 5% type of thing to deal with inflation, but it cannot be another 15 to 20% bump that everyone got coming into this year. And whatever, I know a lot of the fans are like, I don't care. Why do I care about these like season ticket holders? They got enough money to spend. Like honestly, it does matter to them, and it matters to the business. And like,
well, it also matters to you as a fan if you're purchasing on the secondary market because that's how the people who operate on the secondary market. Like,
what percentage of Raptor fans are even in the building though? Like,
No, I know, but this is like, and I've gotten questions like this one's more about the business and the pressure to win, but I've also got some questions about like, will this open up a chance for like more fans to get into the building because the price point comes down? And I think the answer is, unfortunately, the price point's not coming down.
Yeah,
like it's maybe it hits the secondary market and things like that, and those ones come down. But it's not like the people who buy season tickets and put them on secondary markets are happy to take like a loss below face value. Like those, you're gonna have to grind that down to tip off time to get those discounts. I don't know how much we're supposed to talk about the secondary market on air, but because it's not a great thing. But
speaking of the secondary market on air, and this is something that is completely anecdotal, but I remember for the for the Memphis game, typically I leave the arena about like 7:15, like 15 minutes before tip off, go to Union Station, buy some food, and bring it back in and whatever, right? So what I'm saying is I'm outside of the arena, but at the arena at 7:15, and I hear a guy, someone scalping essentially, being like, "Yo, half off, half off, half off, half off," and nobody was talking to that guy. Man. So
it's got to be tough in
this. Anecdotal though. That's anecdotal.
In this technological era, it's got to be tough to be like a physical, physical sales at the spot. Yeah. Like I guess I don't know that many people that would go to a game and be looking to purchase secondary market there versus just doing it online.
I guess I'm indirectly saying that it might be possible to get a half off ticket, or maybe even less than half, to be honest.
But there will be a pressure at some point, and if season ticket renewals drop off, that will be a point that gets noticed. If there are,
dude, if you're gonna tank, you should not be raising ticket prices.
No,
you could do either,
but
like if you want to win, raise ticket prices, and you're a winning product, whatever, it is part of the package. But like if you're intentionally going into the tank. No, I mean, that's just bad business, man. What are you saying? You're just squeezing your customer.
But this is capitalism, and I'm just telling you, I would not expect a significant, I would not expect a change in the price point that reflects the change in competitive direction for a team, at least not to that degree.
Well, I'm saying as a person, that's not right. Okay, the next question, this one from Jeff. Over under of 10 wins the rest of the way for the season. So the Raptors have 38 games remaining. Do they win more than 10 games?
So they're 16-28 now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they're on pace for more than 10.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they also had at least more, win now players.
Yeah. They also are about to start a tough 6-game road trip. They've got a couple cheapies. Like they've got a couple against the Hawks left, 3 against the Nets. I think they got some Hornets on there. Magic have come back down to earth. They got the Wizards late.
The fact that we're waffling on this is wild, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the over.
Yeah,
but I don't feel super confident about it.
Yeah,
I think the thing that makes me lean over is that because of the way the standings look right now, there's not going to be. First of all, front offices tank, like teams, like the players themselves are not tanking anyway.
Yeah.
But there's just like. You're not going to catch up to Detroit, Washington, San Antonio, Charlotte in the loss column. You're just not going to be. Those teams are not going to win 20 games this year.
For those teams, the question is, are they going to win 10 games the whole season? Like Detroit, for example.
Yeah, Detroit's on fire right now. They won like 2 of the last 12.
Oh.
Toronto.
That actually is on fire for them. No, we really did, man. That's tough. Okay, yeah, I still taking it over, but I've not had to answer a question that dark. How about a more positive one? This one from Matt T. What's your favorite moment of the season so far?
That is
again the fact that we're waffling is tough. Come on, man. Come on.
I'm trying to think here. There have obviously been some positive. There's been some really good Scotty fourth quarters.
Yeah, fourth quarter against San Antonio was pretty sick. Plus overtime.
Yeah. I'm going to
come back against Washington.
I think I'm going to go with the New Year's Day win against the Cavs. Because it was right after the trade, and RJ and Quickley were announced that day, and everyone was so excited, and it looked good on the court, and everyone was like happy, and the vibes going and stuff like that.
Okay,
coming out of the holidays too, I don't know. That was probably the high water mark for me game wise. I don't know if there's anything off court that I'm missing, but I don't think so.
Off court, I mean, like there's obviously some really sweet moments, like for example, Darko's initiative that he's announcing. That he's donating money to charity, and that's awesome. That the bike ride that they did in LA was cool.
Yeah, that was cute.
Darko's rant, honestly, Darko's rant might be like number one right now.
It's up there, man. And then like,
Darko's
look,
rant was
early
sick.
in the season before everything started to shift to trade talk, like there were like a number of big Scotty fourth quarter performances.
Oh yeah,
so
yeah.
Scotty,
the
like
Bucks,
Scotty
the Bucks
big picture is probably the answer, but that's not a moment. So yeah, I'm gonna go with the New Year's Day win when fresh eyes on the new product and stuff and the new pieces and. Maybe the last time they sniff a pizza party too.
I'm not gonna lie, Darko was in a lot of these because I whatever. Right? We asked him about the thing yesterday. He was like, "Look, it's not about me paying for food. It's about the camaraderie, and he's looking forward to the 3 wins as well." I'm not gonna put aside the joke, but yeah, I mean, it's been a couple of Darko moments that I've really enjoyed.
Let's
quote wise,
Scotty Barnes.
There we go.
It's
run that whole clip.
It's great that we'll have the 2024-2025 season to look forward to for that 3-game winning streak.
Yeah. Well,
because that's a good sub question to that person who asked if they're going to win over under 10 games the rest of the year.
Someone actually did ask.
Are they going to win 3 in a row?
Yeah. This Trevor on Twitter asked, does the Raptors pizza party happen within this calendar year?
So, calendar year, yes. Like if you're counting the start of next season, by the end of this season, it gets tougher. So your easiest 3-game stretch remaining is like just by quality of competition is the first 3 games of this road trip. And so right away, you're like, well, 3 in a row on the road is tough. Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, none of those teams are awful, but you don't really have many pockets. Like you have Charlotte and San Antonio and Brooklyn and Atlanta all coming up, but there's never 3 of those in a row. There's a good team sprinkled in with all of those. It's tough. You have Detroit, Orlando, Sacramento. Maybe that's your window. You've got Wizards, Nets, Knicks as a 3 set.
Oof, I don't know.
I know.
That's the OG returning game, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's in late March. Damn.
Yeah, so this is what you're looking at, man. There is really not like you've got Wizards, Pacers, Nets late. There are a lot of you're going to win a lot of 2-game win streaks the rest of the way.
Yeah, it's really going to be that Serge Ibaka video where he's tempted to grab a slice of pizza and he doesn't. All right, well, let's leave with one miscellaneous one at least. Actually, let's leave with 2 miscellaneous ones. Okay, this one from Assad, friend of the program, of course. Thanks for the ride home after the Grizzlies game, by the way. Bulbasaur, Charmander, or Squirtle? Which starter Pokemon are you taking from Generation 1?
Okay, so this is Stephen A. Smith answered this on air today. I have to kick this one back at you because I was not a Pokemon guy.
No, but here's the thing. No one wants to hear this from me because I've given this many times. And really, there's no wrong pick. I just want to hear from you. Just get off the vibes alone.
All right.
Off the vibes alone.
I'm going to go with Bulbasaur then because I'm going to go with the like undersized, thick Pokemon.
Okay.
Give me like he's going to be in the post defending much bigger Pokemon still.
Yeah.
I don't know, just based off his look. I don't know much about the
No, that's a good pick. There's actually no wrong pick here. They're all pretty great, but I'll let you know that Bulbasaur evolves into Ivysaur, which is what I think about every time I watch a Pistons game when Jaden Ivey and Asar Thompson are together.
He's questionable to play because Ivysaur. Yeah.
Also limited offensively, just like Ivysaur.
I'm enjoying all the banter.
Thank you. I missed that drop so much. And then the other one from Sahal, the other member of my group chat. What's up, Sahal? Longtime listener here. Each of you, please rank your top 3 childhood snacks of all time.
Ooh.
Yeah.
All right. I probably put Dunkaroos at number 1.
Dunkaroos.
Yeah.
Dunkaroos. All right. Out of flavor, did you like the assorted cream
just a plain
one?
chocolate.
Plain chocolate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a very
Dunkaroos.
plain dessert guy.
Okay.
I just like give me a chocolate chip cookie, like over fancy dessert, like all these places that do like really fancy, elaborate, like $7 donuts. I'm like, can I have like a plain donut?
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I'm a boring dessert person.
Wow. Okay.
So
Chocolate
that's probably
Dunkaroo.
number 1.
All right.
Yeah. What do you got?
So my number 1 snack of all time is a very Asian one, but they're like little rice crackers. So like they're like a little sweet, a little salty rice cracker. They're circular. They got like little white spots on them. Pretty great. Love rice crackers.
What are they? They're just called rice crackers? They don't have or they have a name?
What are they even called, man? They're like Wong rice crackers or something like that. Yeah. People know what this is.
All right.
Yeah. Do you have 2 more or no?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've got lots. Look at the size of me. I obviously enjoy a snack.
Oh, come on, man.
I obviously enjoy a snack.
That's not even true, man.
Yeah, I don't know. So
I'm gonna give.
I'm trying. Actually, you know what? This is maybe not a top 3, but like for nostalgia of childhood purposes, there is a snack called a caramel log, which
caramel log.
Yeah, it's so you can go into the the bulk barn at College Station.
Yeah, sure.
So I have gone in there before because I live close to there.
Yeah,
and you can get them in there, and they're all like from the 1980s and so stale, and they break apart the second you bite them.
Yeah,
but when I was a kid and I would go visit my family in Newfoundland, and I would be able, like my grandma would like send me to the store or whatever. My family in Newfoundland lives on this tiny little island where like a kid can walk around by himself and go to the grocery store. It's fine.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
Remember when candy bars were 10 cents?
I could just rollerblade around the whole island. Like literally, like Coke came in the little bottle, the little glass bottles there.
Oh wow. Okay.
And stuff.
All right.
But like that was like it was like a 10-cent bar at the store or whatever. So I have like a nostalgic thing about those.
Okay, nice. I like this.
I can't tell because the only time I've tried it in the last like 10 years is like these stale ones at the bulk barn. So I don't know if it was actually good when I was a kid or it was just like the cheapest bar at the store.
Yeah.
So that's why
the orange packaging?
Yeah.
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 You can get them on Amazon now.
It even looks doesn't it even look stale in the Google search?
Yeah. This looks like a prop for like, a 1960s kind of show.
Honestly, there was like a 60s or 70s based Newfoundland show on I think CBC or CTV now called Son of a Critch, and it's about the comedian who wrote it grew up in like small town Newfoundland. I think he's a little older than my dad, so it's like a little further back than that. But yeah,
wow, that's a great pick, caramel log. I don't think I want to try it, but I appreciate. I'm gonna
get you. Yeah. I'm gonna go to Bulk Barn on the way to the arena later and get you the stalest chocolate bar you ever had in your life.
I would love to be munching on a caramel log as I watch Kawhi Leonard.
They couldn't come up with a better name
jumpers.
than that either.
Yeah, that sounds like an analogy for a two.
Yeah, can you describe this? I don't know. It's like a log of caramel. Got it. We got the name. Don Draper on the on this screen.
All right. The only other pick I'm gonna give is this is unhinged, but truly was my favorite snack as a teenager was. So you can get a pack of instant noodles, not the cup, like in the bag. And instead of like cooking it, which you can obviously cook in like 5-10 minutes, you can also just like take out the flavor pack, pour the flavor salt into the pack, and then just crunch up the noodles.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then you got little noodle bits. That's like a little salty. Like yeah.
I was broke all through university. I know all about this game.
Yeah. You know this one. Yeah.
You just get like a flat of noodle packages.
A 2-4 package. Yeah. No, seriously, my parents used to drop that off all the time when I was in university. I was depressed, but
But sometimes you just can't walk all the way to the kettle in the common room. Sometimes you just need to eat it dry.
Okay, first off, I have never made instant noodles just with the kettle like that, like on purpose. Like if at all possible, I'm putting it into the pot, putting an egg in there, cutting some green onions at bare minimum.
Yeah, look, I don't know what your dorm was like. I'm not chopping onions in my dorm at Queens. Certainly not. I don't even know if we had a communal fridge. Like I can't remember ever trying to cook in like the dorm common room.
Why do they do that to university students, by the way? Because now I'm thinking about it. My dorm was the exact same thing. We had like first off 2 people in one room.
Mm-hmm.
We had like a mini fridge.
Shout out to Reed, my year 1 roommate Reed.
Okay, yeah, shouts to Alan.
Yeah.
I'll see you at the wedding later this summer. But yeah, like 2 people in the room, one tiny like mini fridge that can only hold like probably like a 2-4, which is probably what it's designed for.
Yeah.
And then if you actually needed to use the kitchen, I remember you have to like go to the bathroom for water so you can like boil water if you needed to in the room.
This is shame.
This is a shame. It really is. And then you go downstairs to the first floor and there's like a little tiny kitchenette, but for like 50 people who live there.
Okay,
and
so we had
a
kitchenette on each floor. And it was like there was a TV in there and like a couch. It was like it was called the common room. And there was like enough counter space that like you could do a pot of noodles or something like that, but you couldn't cook anything other than like
I just never seen nobody cook in there. No. You know what I mean? Like wow. So what'd you do? They just go to the
I had a meal plan.
Oh yeah, same.
Yeah. It wasn't very good, but it was
Hey man, shouts to
on that broke boy life when you can get a meal plan that it's all you can eat. It's just like it's not like a dollar amount. It's just like you swipe in and you go. And also security is really bad for like what you're loading up your backpack with on the way out. It was very, very important to me surviving Queens.
I never shoplifted more.
Yeah.
than when I was in university.
Look,
and I loved it so much.
They took a lot of money from me for a degree that I don't use. So I feel like stealing a half a loaf of bread here and there was, in retrospect, I could justify it.
Yeah.
We're just admitting to crimes live on air.
You know what? You know what? Crime is about. Yeah, I mean, listen, we were stealing from the rich in this instance. So
Their names are.
I'm cool with that. We're going to take this break before we further incriminate ourselves. Been your host, Willow. You've been listening to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to the Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Willow. I'm answering questions with co-host Blake Murphy. Thanks
I'm getting bullied off air between segments.
Yeah. Guess what? This nerd didn't play Pokemon when he was growing up in school. He was playing sports instead. How could you, man?
Yeah. By the way, Paul George got downgraded to questionable tonight. He's dealing with a groin injury that flared back up at shoot-around. That's per our pal Law Murray of The Athletic. We'll do a full preview for that one later, but if anyone's looking for updates, Paul George,
hey, Paul,
questionable.
Take it easy, man. Take it easy. Take it easy, all right? Just say one out, man. Just say one out. Okay. All right. We're answering Raptors questions. We got Raptors specific about the roster. We got former Raptors specific. We got Raptors adjacent. We'll go in that order. Okay. The first one, this is from EP. Out of Bruce Brown, Gary Trent Jr., Dennis Schroeder, Chris Boucher. Who is the most likely to still be with the Raptors post-trade deadline? If you have to pick. Well, I might just rank them in order, maybe. Dennis most likely. Okay.
Yeah. None of those other guys have a contract with the Raptors show. So that's a hurdle in any trade that has to be, some players have like a trade kicker, like a bonus that comes in. Yeah. We, in this case, have the trade kicker where like
we are the
a team kicker. Has to offer us a guest for the show if Dennis is out.
If Dennis is out, who would we try to get for a weekly?
Honestly, they'd probably give us Garrett the rest of the way, which would be.
I'm down, man.
Yeah.
Garrett Temple was at the arena. He saw me. He's like, "Yo, when am I coming on again?" I'm like, "Dude, whenever you want." What do you mean? You're a fantastic guest.
Did I tell you my thing with him on New Year's Day at the intro, like RJ and Quickley's shoot around?
No.
So
what happened?
All the media are standing around waiting, right? Yeah. And like we're under the one basket, and he's like coming over to shoot on it.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to push the other media out of the way. I'm like, I think he needs our basket. He's like, oh, this is your basket.
Oh.
And like just the whole time he was shooting around, he's like, didn't realize this was y'all's basket. And he just gave it to me the whole time. Yeah. So I would say
one time I want the players to pass it to me so I can shoot it just once. Please. I'm begging.
So
I'm begging.
He did have a rebound go loose, and I hit him with a pad perfectly in the shooting pocket.
Those are nice.
He didn't acknowledge it, but I know he knows. He was like, damn, I've never had a pass that sweetly right into my hands. I don't have to adjust anything.
I like that you had the confidence to throw him an actual chest pass and not a bounce pass, because I just throw him bounce passes. I'm like, I know my passing sucks.
It depends on the distance. If I'm on the court, if I'm not going to be able to pass, I'm not contributing much else offensively.
Yeah,
so
all right.
Set some screens, all my values on the other end. Okay, so this question, Brown, Trent, Schroeder, and Boucher.
Yeah.
I would probably say, given what we're hearing in reports around the league, that it doesn't sound like Bruce Brown's going to stick around unless the Raptors decide they really like.
There's a real market.
There's a real market.
Yeah.
Jake Fisher reported today that you're talking about at least a first for Bruce Brown. Now, whether it's definitely a first or it's a prospect, a good prospect and a second or something like that, but the equivalent value of a first seems like it's going to be out there.
I'm down
for Bruce Brown. Trent, Schroeder, and Boucher are all guys who I think teams maybe circle back to those guys close to the deadline if the other stuff doesn't happen. All three of those guys have contracts in the like $11 to $19 million range, where most teams can make it work. But if you're the Knicks, say that Evan Fournier salary that you're using to make that cap math work, why would you move off of that until there's nothing else on the table?
Right.
Those kind of deals are a little. Those contracts are too valuable a flexibility chip to use them before the end. I don't know. Like every contending team could use Dennis Schroeder. It's just a matter of finding a way to take the $12 million on without taking a rotation player away. A lot of teams could use Chris Boucher off the bench, and there's obviously been some interest around him, as I've said on the show. But again, he makes $11 million in change, so you got to make sure that doesn't blow up your chances of making a bigger deal if you're one of those teams looking. And then Gary's the one that
You haven't heard a lot of trade rumors about Gary?
Nah. And which
might mean could the Raptors maybe re-sign him for less than his current value?
Yeah, that'd be so. It's got to be awkward,
though.
but he's definitely cost himself a ton of money this year, so This is also one where, like, I was most confident that Gary would be the guy that got traded at last year's deadline of the potential free agents, just because, like, it didn't seem like and then they bought instead. So, so what do I know?
Yeah.
But I think, like, you're in agreement that Bruce was probably the least likely to stay around based on what we've heard, like, market-wise?
Yeah, there's the most demand for him. Yeah. So it makes perfect sense. All right, former Raptors specific. This one from Lele. The offense looked great for a brief period after OG was traded and Pascal was still on the team pre-Jakob Poeltl injury. Is there a world where it would have worked if the Raptors kept Siakam and added IQ, RJ, and built from there? Trading away all NBA talent seems negligent.
I mean, it's negligent if you don't like the return. You like
the return though? Because I don't really like the return.
No, not as much as what I think you could have got in the offseason.
Exactly.
Look, a scenario where it works, sure. I think you would have been not a good defensive team. And that's not because Pascal's bad defensively or anything, but you were already headed toward a bad defensive team, even with Jakob having a good defensive season by the Raptors' internal metrics, even by having OG Anunoby on the team. You weren't going to be a good defensive team. Offensively, yeah, you could have made it work. Those last couple of Pascal games would have looked better with Jakob still in the lineup. But I think when we talk about would it have worked, talk about like it would have worked back to being like a high 30s win team instead of a mid 20s win team. And I don't know if that works in enough of a way.
I think bigger picture wise, they wanted the reset.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, I mean, part of me will wonder that because it felt like with OG, the move to the Knicks was almost like orchestrated, like backroom kind of orchestrated. Was going to the Knicks, looks happy with the Knicks. The Knicks are clearly very happy with him. And the Raptors got a decent return for that one. The Pascal one, I really do buy that he wanted to stay here. And you know what? After you sign that deal, it's not going to be a no-trade clause or anything in that deal. So it's like, of course, you surrender the idea that, of course, you can always be traded. But I think he wanted to be paid here. And it didn't feel like a necessary move. Like OG felt like a necessary move. Pascal just didn't feel as necessary to me because I know he was open to being here. But, I mean, the other thing, too, is just like, yeah, I mean, you heard, though, for like pretty much an entire year before it finally got done that the Raptors weren't interested in an extension, period. Like maybe at a smaller cost, maybe for a shorter amount of time, but it's like, that's like I'm being interested in you, but I'm going to offer you 60% of your salary. Like that's not interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's
that's
I'd be interested in any like all-star or borderline all-star caliber player if they were willing to not get paid like that.
Exactly. So I think
you want to sign that Bruce Brown deal? Done.
Yeah. So I think there was a level of just like the front office.
But no.
Oh wow, I didn't know Alex was in that one. But yeah, like I think there was a level of just the front office wasn't confident in Pascal for whatever reason. And I guess we'll see. I guess we'll see what happens.
And not necessarily a confidence now, but a confidence in like, over the life of his next deal. What does that look like in year 3, year 4? Which, we'll see. It also, I mean, it puts a heavy pressure on them to get back to being good at drafting and developing.
There you go. Okay. One Raptors adjacent one. This one's from Eric Kareem. Which Raptor would win a team-wide Royal Rumble, assuming that they enter by height? Tallest first, all the way down to Marquise Noel. He didn't say all the way down. That feels a little rude.
So for anyone who doesn't know, a Royal Rumble is everyone's in the ring and you got to throw the other person, other people out of the ring.
That's the only way you can. You have to ring someone out.
You have to throw them out. Yeah, you're like the last person standing in the ring wins. You can't like pin guys or make them submit. You got to throw them out.
Gotcha. Okay.
By the way, the Royal Rumble is this Saturday, and you can watch that on Sportsnet Plus, of course,
nice.
Because we're a WWE partner for the time being.
Okay.
So that'll be fun. Now, which Raptor would win? Historically, this has been really easy to answer because the Raptors have had James Johnson on their team a lot. And James Johnson was the answer. I think in the Serge era, Serge was a pretty good answer. He's got the size. We know he can, throw Marquise Chris over the top rope. We've got an idea with Serge Ibaka. With this team, now, if we are staying in kayfabe, which is like we don't know what's happening backstage, like we don't.
Dude, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's a wrestling term. Anyway, basically, there are two answers here. If Masai is booking this because someone books a story, then Scotty wins. Scotty's going over.
Face the franchise.
If we're treating it legitimately, I think Bruce Brown.
Really?
He's shorter, so he gets to come in much later in the match than other people, the way Eric has laid this out.
Right.
And then obviously he plays much larger than his size. So he gets a later start. He's a little fresher. You know, maybe Scotty and Jonte and guys like that have worn each other down. Bruce Brown comes in, lower center of gravity, strength, experience, versatility. I like it.
This is why they sent Grady to that 3-week conditioning stint.
Yeah, so you can get yeeted over the top rope.
Yeah, Grady got to eat it immediately.
Yeah. He'd be in early too because he's technically one of the tallest guys on the team now.
Yeah, you know, I'll give a shout to RJ. I feel like
Otto Porter gonna do the walk in and immediately just leave the ring himself. I'm not competing in this.
It's gonna make a problematic.
You're
joke.
going RJ?
I'm going RJ. Yeah, why not? Yeah, RJ seems very strong for a guard. So that's my pick. Yeah,
taller than Bruce Brown though, so he's coming in. He's coming in earlier. Yeah. Bruce Brown's getting a little bit fresher.
Yeah, they're gonna try to close out to his right side and try to like grab him there, and he's gonna go left
throw guys
instead.
out left-handed.
Yeah, he's gonna fake them out. All right, we got to go quickly for the other ones. Okay, so this one from James. Given the recent trend we've seen from Grady, the upward trend, how would you like to see his role progress the remainder of the season? You want to see him get rotation minutes?
Yes. I disagree with the upward trend if we're including the 905 performances as well.
Okay, all right.
But
some good highlights, but not overall.
Yeah,
game.
It generally was not his best game the other morning. But yeah, like you talked to Darko about it yesterday.
Yeah,
like what are we doing here? Grady is not. Based on what we've seen in the G League and everything except his last 2 NBA appearances, he's not ready to contribute to winning in NBA minutes right now. But you don't care about winning NBA minutes right now. You need to get him the reps, and I still think he should see 905 time because you need to get 30 minutes in sometimes. You need to be able to get 15 shots up. But yeah, he should be seeing NBA time as well. Like I'd be a little surprised if he's not on this 6-game road trip with the Raptors instead of back here with 905.
Okay, I agree with that. I like that one. This one from Kaiser. Would you have preferred? No, just the like the bun, like the roll. Would you have preferred to trade Pascal for DeJounte?
No.
Okay, just no. All right. I don't think DeJounte necessarily wanted to come here either, but that's
also like you just said it with Pascal. The trade was about declaring a direction and a plan.
Yeah,
and trading him for a similarly talented player at a different position that you're going to run in. It just seemed like another way of kicking the decision down the line.
Okay. This one from Joe Bon. Sick name. If that is your name on Twitter. Which team has a better throwback jersey and logo, the Raptors or the Grizzlies? Naismith Cup.
Yeah.
On the jerseys.
I'm going to lean Raptors, but it's really close. They're both like top tier.
They're both top tier. They're both super clean, man.
Yeah, like Marc Gasol and the Raptors throwback against the Grizzlies.
With the Kyle Lowry one right behind you. Yeah. That's the
yeah.
I can't really pan the camera. This one from Sports Fandom Hurts. Why are the Toronto Raptors media so resistant to the idea of a rebuild? Is it because your jobs are on the line? Is it because our jobs are on the line, Blake?
No, I don't really understand this question. I feel like I've been saying for several years that they need to pick a direction. So maybe this question doesn't apply to me. Maybe it applies to different Toronto media. But also, no, our jobs aren't on the line if the Raptors get worse. That we still are broadcasting 82 games on TV and radio. People are still reading about the team.
I'm not gonna lie though, it's harder to cover them when they're not winning.
It's harder and like it's
you
less
get less access and things like that. So.
Yeah, the job's still really cool.
I'm not gonna say there's not a selfish element to that. Of course,
yeah, but it's not job security. Yeah. It's you're enjoying your job day to day.
Yeah, which is an important thing. All right, last one. This one from Jay. NBA players and staff do a cool dab type handshake most of the time. This is just verbatim. I would not have phrased it like this, but how do you know when to use a regular handshake or a dab? That's what I think he meant, adapt. And also, have you ever panicked and got it wrong?
Yeah. I mean, everyone's done the one person handshakes, one person daps thing before. We've all been there.
Okay.
But the answer is just you just know or you don't.
Yeah, this is
like I'm not walking up to Bobby Webster and being like, is it a handshake? Is it handshake day or a dap day? Yeah,
I dap Bobby.
Yeah. Absolutely. I have a great picture of me just like sitting courtside. He walks by and daps me up.
He gets a really flat hand dap. Yeah.
Yeah. But the answer is just like you know or you don't.
Yeah. It's also a bit of a cultural thing. But anyway, we're going to take another break. Been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. I'm your host, Willow. Blake Murphy, co-host. And we are joined for segment 3 by Dan Devine, Yahoo Sports, Divine Intervention, No Cap Room. What's going on, man? The man with the with the most iconic laugh in the entire podcasting space. You look angelic right now. There's so much light on your
well lit.
You are well lit, my friend.
Well, I have to be lit to come on the Raptors show. You got to be extremely lit when you get to talk to Will Lou and Blake Murphy. So a couple of things. First off, now I'm going to be self-conscious about my laugh the entire time. Wow. Number one. Number two, the last time I was on the show, you absolutely flamed me, and justifiably so, for wearing what you called the official uniform of the Pro Basketball Writers Association, which was just like a flannel. So I had to change my shirt before I did this show. I still only can do like a black t-shirt and a button down, but at least it's not the flannel. Yeah. But beyond that, I'm just so excited to get back with you guys. This is how I start my weekend. This is with Will and Blake.
This is the away jersey.
Also, I'm in a black t-shirt with a flannel button up like beside me. It's too warm in the studio today for it. So glad we don't match here. Dan, welcome, man. Thanks for doing this. Last night, the NBA announced the starters for this year's All-Star game. That was determined by 50% fan vote, 25% player vote, 25% media vote. Weird reaction to, so Scotty Barnes came 11th. He came 11th in the player vote, 10th in the fan vote. He ended up passing Mikal Bridges at the last moment for 10th in the fan vote. Among East front court players. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then he didn't rank in the media vote because media only picked 7 guys. Like the 3 spots were spread out between 7 guys. I saw people mad about that. It's like, you can't put him over Giannis and Embiid and Tatum. I'm sorry. I love Scotty and I think he's a reserve, but you can't put him over those guys.
Mad? No way.
Yeah. So here are your starters. In the East, it's Giannis, Joel Embiid, Jason Tatum, Tyrese Halliburton, and Damian Lillard. In the West, it is LeBron James making his record-setting 20th All-Star appearance.
Damn.
Along with Kevin Durant, Nikola Jokic, Luka Doncic, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Nice.
Which is obviously great. Dan, that was not far off your ballot. You wrote up your picks for both the starters and the reserves at Yahoo Sports this week. In the East, you had 4 of the starters, the same as what eventually ended up happening. Damian Lillard was not a starter on your ballot. And I would have assumed that the next person up, if not Dame, was Jalen Brunson, who, as Josh Hart called him yesterday, because he's not an all-star starter, an effing loser, because he's not starting the all-star game. But you had Donovan Mitchell in that spot instead. We're not going to just like pick apart your picks, but I'm very curious to hear the Donovan Mitchell over a Brunson case.
Well, first off, I'm glad to find out this is not going to be one of those gotcha interviews, because otherwise I wouldn't have changed my shirt for that.
Well, not yet, at least.
Yeah, no, the sweat is going to come down.
Yeah, if Scotty's not on your reserve list, then there's going to be some gotcha.
Oh, buddy, there will be some.
There will be shooters.
There will be some music counts at your door. All right.
Some music counts. Goodness. Well, for one thing, as a native New Yorker and an avowed ashamed Knicks fan, I have to beat the allegations. Right? You have to beat the homer allegations.
All right.
So step one is that you got to present the image of impartiality. Nope. I mean, to me, it was like it was either one of those guys was going to be the first name on the reserve list for me. To me, the argument for Mitchell, in addition to the sort of advanced statistical case, he's top 10 or top 15 in almost all of the alphabet soup, all in one kind of advanced metrics, and has a big lead on Jalen Brunson in that in terms of like per minute productivity, per possession productivity. I think like second or third in the league in steals and deflections. He's up in the top 10. So he's had like a bigger impact defensively on what has been an elite Cleveland defense. And then the run the Cavs have been on since Darius Garland and Evan Mobley went out, the fact they've been like a top 10 caliber offense in that run is almost exclusively due to Mitchell. Like they've been shooting threes a ton, they've been pushing the pace, but so much of the open threes that guys like Sam Merrill or Dean Wade or George Niang or whoever are stepping into, it's because of all the attention Donovan Mitchell draws.
Dean Wade is not self-creating all of this offense.
Not yet. I mean, listen, we're going to see where he gets to next year. But the point is, so to me, that like the fact that everyone was sort of wondering, are they going to go crater? And is Donovan Mitchell going to be on a new team in a month? And instead of that, they are right there neck and neck for fourth seed in the East. And Mitchell has been balling out and the team has looked so much better. So that to me, I was like, Brunson has had Randall the entire time. The Knicks, with the exception of Mitchell Robinson, have been healthy. It's felt like a heavier lift to some degree for Mitchell, but our friend Tom Ziller this morning sent out an email and as a newsletter that said, Jalen Brunson's not a starter because of you. And for me, that might be literally true. Like I might be one of the reasons that it didn't happen. So I got to wear that.
Yeah, the Donovan Mitchell stuff's fascinating because like the way he's talked about as a trade target, you'd think he's like a free agent at the end of the year. He's not. He's got another year left and then a player option. He's also only 27. There's a lot to like there. And it's a great point because I was actually looking at the standings the other day and I was like, man, the Cavs are like really doing this still. And like Mobley's not remotely back yet. Like there's a lot that has gone wrong for them and they're hanging in there. The other thing I was interested about in your starter picks is that you also mentioned, I know you had written about this previous, but in mentioning Tyrese Halliburton as a starter, which he's been voted in, which is awesome because it's in Indiana and hopefully he's back by then. He's only expected to miss maybe another game or two here before coming back. You kind of think he could be most improved player in addition to being an all-star starter here?
So this is one of my my most fuego takes, and it's one of the things that gets me yelled at most frequently. I understand the argument that if somebody has established themselves as like all-star level or thereabouts, then they should not be considered for this kind of award. I get that. I also, though, think that the hardest improvement and the biggest improvement there is to make in the league is going from like that level to MVP candidate to all NBA first team kind of ballot candidate. And that's exactly the kind of leap that Tyrese Halliburton has made. You know, like they are the best offense in the league, Indiana, because of Tyrese Halliburton. The way they play offensively is entirely based on him. And it's not just like he got more minutes, so he's scoring more. The workload is about the same, but it's like 4 more points and 4 more assists per 100 possessions, going from like among the league leaders in assists to blowing that away, creating more points per assist than any player in PBP stats database, which goes back to 2000. He's creating more points via assist than like any Steve Nash team, any Chris Paul team. Like it is blowing that stuff out of the water. And yes, some of that is the era, some of that is pace, but a lot of it is Halliburton. And I think that if you asked the Pacers, just like honestly, before the start of the season, did you think he was going to be this good, this fast? Even the most optimistic Pacers person probably would have said no. And I think that kind of improvement is also improvement. I get the argument for guys who have yet to be named all-stars being in that kind of consideration. You know, Tyrese Maxey is the name that you're going to hear an awful lot for that. He's probably about a week away from being named an all-star for the first time. But to me, when I was looking at that kind of award, and I'm looking at who I voted for in the past, Luka, Ja, SGA last year, I think when you get to that elite level, that top 5, top 10 kind of level, that's worth celebrating. And that's the one way that I do it. But I certainly understand the counter argument.
I mean, it is the hardest jump to make. Like that's the thing. Like, I mean, a lot of players get promoted into a position where they get more opportunities to put up numbers, and sometimes they take it, and sometimes it comes with a tangible improvement in their skill set. But to make that final jump, I think is really, really, really key. And what about the reserves? So I'm looking at. Are these the reserves that you picked? Bam Adebayo, Jaylen Brown, Julius Randle.
I put his picks in.
Brunson, Maxey, Lillard.
I had to make you wait for
Barnes.
this, Will. What's the last name on the list? Will?
Scotty Barnes. Yeah, I'm happy you got Scotty in there. Was it a difficult, like, was Scotty the last pick for you? Was he not the last pick for you? We need to break this down even further. Yeah, I see that he's on the list, but I need to know that he was the first guy on this list for me.
Is he still being snubbed while being on the list is really what we're trying to identify here.
Should he have been the first wild card instead of the second wild card is the discussion here.
That's right. It was hard insofar as I think I guess I tend to lean toward rewarding team success and how much somebody is impacting winning. Okay. Which, you know, fair or unfair, I do think that I maybe have like a inherent bias toward that somewhat. So then you sort of get to that point of, if you're going to go for Scotty, should you maybe not go for Trae Young instead, right? Or something like that, where it's like incredible numbers, and, you know, the efficiency not quite there, certainly not the two-way impact, but is having somebody who's like a top 10 offensive player, but a significantly damaging defensive player who is that is a major reason why the Hawks are bad consistently, versus someone who is not that, but like maybe isn't as high on either side as Trae is on offense. I went with it and said, like, I think he's been good enough on both ends of the floor. I liked the idea just selfishly, and in a sandbox where nothing matters because the coaches picked this, not me. Like, get the first time guy on there, recognize somebody who has made the difficult adjustment from like a sophomore slump or at least sophomore stagnation to a huge year 3 leap. Like it's not, you're talking about guys who get more opportunities and don't always do enough with them. This is not only someone who has done more with them, but like forced the organization along with the calendar to finally make a decision about its direction, because it's like, no, he is this good. We do have to build around him in this way. And I thought that merited some recognition. Whether that's going to be that for the coaches, I mean, young guys can sometimes be struggle with getting that recognition from coaches. But in the consequences-free sandbox of my reserve picks, I felt like that was worth giving a shout to. And I knew that even before I was going on the show in Toronto. I didn't even know I was coming on yet when I did that. So that's how you know it. I meant it.
Yeah, you sound pressed. I don't know, man. No,
it's just these lights.
It really is just these lights, man.
You're being interrogated fully.
Like I said in our show group chat, you look like Jesus coming in a vision right now to talk to me about all-star starters right now. So,
I'll take that. I've been called way worse things, so that's good.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, on the point of Scotty, so it was interesting hearing Masai. Masai had the post, not trade deadline, but trading Pascal and OG. He talked about it, and when he mentioned Scotty, he was like, I kind of wish I foresaw this jump, right? Because it could have informed them maybe to move in a different direction. And yeah, I mean, clearly he has taken this jump. Now, of course, like his role keeps changing, and that's going to affect sort of his day-to-day responsibilities. Like after OG got moved, for example, now he's like the primary defender on pretty much everybody now. Jakob Poeltl gets injured. Now he has to play some small ball 5 as well. Sometimes he's a lead playmaker, sometimes he's not. But the fact is, there's just like the overall impact you see Scotty Barnes in a game right now, especially in the moments where he takes over. So fourth quarters, we've seen him have takeover moments. The game against the Spurs in the season, where, he had that back 3 to force overtime and then won it in overtime as well. Guys like that, like the plays and the level of impact, like if it's not this year, he's going to get there eventually. He's on that level. And I'm looking at the possible snubs too, that, like Jimmy Butler or Kristaps Porzingis, Trae Young, you mentioned, Derek White, Pascal, Jared Allen, Paolo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Like he's above those guys for me. Like, for example, Pascal, like Scotty has had a better season than Pascal to date. Right. And so that one's easy for me. Jared Allen, I mean, I appreciate that he's stepping up more offensively due to the injuries. I think the conversation there is like Paolo or Franz, like, do you reward one of them? But
and if the Magic had stayed on the pace they were, maybe you do, right? But now it's like not only are they splitting the vote in your head, but they've come back down to earth to about a 500 team.
So, I mean, it's an incredible jump. And again, it's a reminder that like the Raptors are not just transitioning to nothing.
Yeah.
Like they are transitioning to a younger group that have something that they're already showing. So maybe this is just me rationalizing that the tank won't be as long as it needs to be, man. I want to see wins in Toronto, but anyway.
Dan, to spin off of that, when you are doing this and you're down to your final couple guys, is it harder for you to leave off a player having a good season on a winning team that's maybe not represented or underrepresented, or is it tougher for you to leave off like an outstanding individual season on a team that's just not playing that well? Like which one for you is the tougher cut?
It's funny because my immediate reaction is the former. It's like if a guy who is contributing to a team that is succeeding and has played a major role in that success versus somebody who's putting up great numbers but on a bad team, my first thought is like, oh, I would lean toward the success. And yet when I did the column, I put Scotty on over, as you mentioned, like Banchero being maybe probably the primary example of a guy who's had to just like drag that offense so often this season and, done it. I think you see that also reflected in how well he finished in the player vote. I think players are like, man, that guy has to do so much for that team, especially when Franz was out. But that, I mean, I think the representation component of it is interesting because you can get yourself in sort of a pretzel there where you're like, well, I got to have a guy from this team, or I got to have 2 guys from that team. And that's, you can drive yourself nuts with that. So I think at a certain point, like it would be one thing if I had nobody from the number 1 seed in either conference, right? Like then you would feel like something was not lining up. But as long as you're like relatively representing, quality players on quality teams, or who are at least competing, 500-ish or so, I think there's still room for saying this is excellence, even if it's, being hidden under a barrel a little bit, or even if there are circumstances that have led to this team not succeeding. You don't necessarily have to ding a player for other consequences like that.
I think the statistical case too is just like pretty clear for me. Like, so if you want to go raw stats, for example, like Scotty's averaging 2 fewer points per game than Paolo. Otherwise, he's shooting a better percentage from the field, better percentage from 3, more rebounds per game, more assists, more steals, more blocks. Scotty's an EPM darling. So There's that aspect as well.
Yeah, the audience doesn't like it when I use that stat. Unless it supports Scotty Barnes as an all-star, then it's our number one favorite stat.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I hear it. Like, of course, it's going to be difficult. You know, coaches, I think, historically have done the approach that you're describing, which is why I think, by the way, coaches' votes should be public. I'm sorry. Every time it's like, oh, the media votes come out and all the media guys get like, you know, oh my, I can't believe this guy didn't vote for this or whatever and whatever.
I don't even care.
Why is it not transparent for coaches? I want to see who Rick Carlisle voted for.
So my take on this is I don't need to see who the Indiana Pacers coach voted for. I just need every team to admit who actually makes the pick.
Okay, fine. It was.
That's good. I like that.
No, but seriously, like, I want to see that.
Yeah,
you know,
Dwayne Casey or Rex Kalamian, reveal yourself as the true voter here. It's tough because, like, obviously coaches, you know, I've heard coaches explain over the years that, like, yes, they'll go down the standings list, and that's kind of how they do it first. They're like, hey, who are we game planning the most for? Like, who's the most stressful guy for us to play against? Yeah. But you also run into things like the head coach of a team is not doing the scout for all 82 games and all 14 conference opponents. They're not seeing every single game. There's not enough time in the day with everything I have to do to watch these guys a lot. You might be at the All-Star break when you're voting for the coaches, like, theoretically, you might not have played a team yet. You just haven't seen them. You haven't done the prep work for them. So there's a little bit of an imbalance there. We don't have to do that. The media have no say over the reserves, but we get to do this anyway. Dan, to pivot to the Western Conference, that is a conference that has like 10 real teams and 2 more teams that think they're real. And the East has not nearly that many real teams. Yeah. How much tougher was the West for you given the depth of candidates?
I think it's weird. It almost got easier once I realized that no matter what I did, I was wrong. Like that kind of there's a certain level of resignation or acceptance, maybe. Let's put a positive spin on it. When you're like, I'm going to have to leave 2 of LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, and Kevin Durant off of my ballot. Like, I can't put all 4 of those, or even 2 of those guys are not going to make it. And you're like, well, all right.
Yeah, like as starters, to be clear, they're on your reserve ballot. But there are no right answers.
That would be really wild if I did that. That would be some engagement farming. But no, once you realize you only get 3 front court spots, you only get 2 guard spots, and then like the guard spots, to me, that was like, it did not take very much thinking, despite the fact that, you know, there are elite players at that position, and obviously Steph Curry is Steph Curry. Like this season, I don't know how you could vote honestly for anyone who was not Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka Doncic at the front court, or the backcourt spots rather. So like once that happens, and you're like, I guess I'm going to have to bring Steph Curry off the bench on this team. Like, yeah, you get sort of a level of comfort where you're like, this is going to look weird, and it's going to kind of feel a little bit odd to have these names in like the second bunch of guys you write about. But the performances of some of those other players just sort of push them down the list like that. This is what happens when the league is this good.
Where would Shai? So you voted Shai as a starter. He's going to be a starter. Hypothetically, if there were an MVP vote right now, where would he be on your ballot? Is he like top 3 and he ain't 3 kind of thing?
Oh, now you're getting interrogated. This is all Canada's watching. Fine. All of Canada's watching.
I'm okay with this because I've been under these hotlights writing nothing but award based or all-star based columns for the last like week and a half. So I'm just like, I've been in this so heavy. SGA would be 3 and he would be 3. I think it's Jokic, Embiid, and then Jokic for me right now. Obviously, there could come a point where games missed rears their ugly head, and like, you know, if Embiid falls behind the pace rather, then, you know, it's a different conversation. But I think that SGA has firmly put himself into that number 3 spot on the ballot. You know, the numbers, you all know the numbers, and they're sick. And the fact that he's doing it on both ends of the floor, not just the 31, 6 and 6 or whatever it is, but also leading the league in steals. I think he's like 5th in stocks too, just because of how big his steals advantage is. Like it's all the gigantic, scary guys, and then SGA right under them in stocks. And Scotty up there too, as a matter of fact. But nice. It's been, and you know, everyone gets mad at Blake for mentioning EPM. Why not give him some support here? SGA right up at the top of that list too. Like it's been, I think everybody but Embiid is underneath SGA too, even Jokic. So it's been a sensational first half for him. That team, like, you are competing for the number 1 seed in the West, you know, within hailing distance of Boston for best record. Like all of the markers of this is what an MVP winds up being are there. It's just that also Philly's right there, and also Denver's right there, and the other numbers also lean a little bit toward those guys. So basically the biggest thing that's wrong with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's MVP case is that he's not half a foot and 75 pounds, half a foot taller and 75 pounds heavier. That seems to be the only thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just tough because it's like, so soccer got to this point where it's like if they have a Ballon d'Or, it's like the MVP award for the year sort of thing, and it's like you can't actually beat Messi or Ronaldo for this award. It doesn't really matter who the third best player is in the world at any given time. They're just not going to get it, and it's like that's how we're like looking at Jokic and Embiid. Like, look at Embiid, man. He scored 36 a game. He just scored 70. Like, I'm sorry, it's hard to win proficiency in this type of classroom. So, I'm looking at the reserves. So LeBron, KD, Paul George, Anthony Edwards, Devin Booker, Steph Curry, De'Aaron Fox. That looks about right because like there's not really any snubs that I would take above those guys.
I want to meet.
You would think that, Lou. You would think that, Will. Sorry, you would think that, Will.
No, it's fine. Go ahead.
I want to meet the person who's angry in your mentions that Rudy Gobert won't be in the All-Star game blocking all the alley-oops.
Sacre blood.
Oh, Blake, be honest. You don't want to meet that person.
No, I don't. It's Rudy Gobert. I've met him.
Rudy Muse.
He's the only guy.
You start your microphone.
Invented COVID. Yeah.
Oh my God, inventing it. Well, I mean,
use it in a lab.
It's a new theory. Yeah, we don't need to talk about lab theories.
No, we don't. Yeah.
I would say that. I mean, Gobert is a difficult one, if only that he is like the reason or the biggest reason for the biggest reason that the Wolves are number one, right?
Okay.
Like they are there because of that defense, and they are number one because of him more than anybody else. So that is, I can see that. Domantas Sabonis, to me, we talk about representation again. Like, I was like, I would feel silly if I didn't get a king on here. Who do I think is more responsible for their success? You look at the on-court, off-court splits on that team, and it's like when De'Aaron Fox plays without Sabonis, they're pretty good to very good. When Sabonis plays without De'Aaron Fox, they get boat raced. So even though Sabonis has whatever it is, like 20, 13, and 8, and like a dozen triple doubles, I do feel like Fox is more of the driver of the success for that team. So that's why I put him on there. But understandably, like there are Kings fans that are going to be ticked off about that. Markkanen, like the only reason the Jazz are even competing is because Lauri Markkanen is sick. So like that's one. But yeah, I know you're right. Like, there gets to a point where you're like, this feels it's not bulletproof because there's no like, everyone will find something. There are so many good players that there is somebody that is deserving that is going to be left out. But you do the best you can with the spaces that you have, and then you comfort yourself by saying these 7 spots at the end here literally don't matter because I am not the coach of a Western Conference team. Say it with me, Blake. Yet.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jordy Fernandez is going to be doing these votes and making sure it's all Canadians on the Sacramento Kings ballot. And you mentioned Lauri Markkanen, like this is why I'm not allowed to vote. Is like I would be like, yeah, Chris Dunn's getting my All-Star vote to represent Utah's overperformance. Okay, so Chet and Wemby aren't on here. Maybe they're not going to make it.
They'll be in that rookie sophomore game though.
But and
I can't wait to watch that.
And so I want to spin this out a little bit because I think. Look, I'm hardcore. I love the dunk contest. I love the 3-point contest. I still like that stuff.
You love the Ruffle Celebrity Contest?
Whatever that is. Yep. My former teammate Simu Liu in the celebrity game. Let's go.
Oh, remember when he almost choked the whole game away for the celebs last year?
Man, remember when he almost did that for my team in the Raptors Republic 3-on-3 tournament a couple years ago?
I do remember that. Remember when I blocked you twice in an open run?
Yeah.
That's a true story.
Okay, take it in the post though. Okay, so.
Not you.
I know. Yeah. Let's I as much as I love All-Star Saturday Night, I think we could do more.
Yeah.
And I wonder, like, they're not going to do it obviously, but Chet and Wemby one-on-one or some sort of showcase that puts them front and center one-on. Like the skills challenge is not enough. That's too lame. Dan, do you have any ideas for how we showcase Chet v. Wemby at All-Star Weekend, or is it just rookie sophomore and Chet is a sophomore now for this purpose?
Well, I mean, the argument of both of them is really, like, seeing them have to work together feels like there could be some juice there, like, but not so much as teammates in those games, like forcing them to be, like a 3-legged race, like tie their legs together and then make them accomplish certain tasks. Or, like one of them, like an improv exercise where one's arms are behind the back and the other one has to use the arms to, do the space work. I think if we're going to do a one-on-one there. It needs to go from skills challenge to like skills decathlon.
Okay.
Like I need to see a wide variety. Like give me the broad jump with these two guys. Give me the high jump with these two guys. But then also like spoon an egg on your mouth or Dizzy Izzy or something like that.
What if we go like Billy Madison style, where there's like a mix of athletic and music, and then like intelligence challenges as well? You got to do a debate. We can blow it out with a full academic decathlon.
A model United Nations at one point too. Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Canada versus France, or U.S. versus France.
If you can't envision Chet Holmgren just pulling a Timberland boot out of a smoking pot and saying like, this is my science project, then you and I don't think the same. But I guess I'm built different in that way.
After, we're going to expand this out eventually. And like after Jordan Poole gives his debate, you get Adam Silver doing the "we're all dumber for having heard this. I award you no points." And sorry to pick on Jordan Poole for that one. So this plays into something I've thought for a long time, and it's an incredibly stupid thing, but a funny thing to do as part of All-Star Weekend would be like let's mix in some non-basketball stuff as well. Like I want an NBA talent show. Like I want a couple
They had that a couple years ago. Remember that?
Wasn't that just a game of horse?
No, they had an actual NBA talent show.
I don't remember this at all.
Some people were rapping.
You might be thinking about when Victor Oladipo came out singing New York, New York before doing his dunk.
No, it was on TNT. I swear. There was like an NBA talent show where guys were like, I remember this because Mike Muscala was a really good like rapper.
Wow. Okay.
Look this up. I'm not
Dwight Howard did impressions.
Of course he did.
Oladipo sang.
God. Yeah.
Donovan. Everyone just sang though.
There's a lot of singing. Yeah. I mean,
Terrence Ross's talent was playing video games. Come on. We got to do better than this.
That's too on the nose.
We got T-Ross out here streaming. He's out here on Twitch.
Yeah, we should get T-Ross on the show. By the way.
We absolutely should. Dan, do you have any other ideas for events we could throw into All-Star Saturday, basketball or not basketball related?
Timed escape room for like give me big threes. Like I want to see like a competitive escape room for big threes, and then we'll find out like maybe the person that you think is the weakest link in the big three is actually the one that holds the whole thing together.
Okay.
I want this, but for coaching staffs whose job security is in peril. Like, let's see, before the Adrian Griffin decision comes down, let's see him and Joe Prunty and Trevor Gleason do an escape room while Doc, Dave Yeager, and who else? Rex Kalamian are over here doing theirs as well.
To borrow the popular meme, they're having a coach off. Wow. No, I mean, look, I would love to see a one-on-one competition. I would love specifically to see Chet and Wemby go up each other one-on-one, 1st to 11 kind of thing.
And they seem like the rare two guys who, like, for most players, it's like, well, there's no incentive to doing it, right?
But because they just like going at each other. They
seem like they would legit get into just being like, no, I want to own that dude in front of everybody.
Don't you want to see what Wemby's one-on-one moves are? Like, independent of a 5-on-5 context? Because the thing is, like, I feel like when Wemby plays Chet, and obviously they played each other earlier this week, it doesn't even look like they're playing basketball.
No.
It's a slightly different sport.
I love the one-on-one aspect because obviously we would want Chet versus Wemby, but I remember 3
dribbles, like no like over dribbling in the post kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember in the championship year too, like, and obviously Kawhi was not involved in this. Kawhi's not going to do this.
Kawhi's not doing anything extra.
Someone on the Raptors told me that in all their summer runs and all their training camp practice and stuff, like Lorenzo Brown was the king of one-on-one.
Really?
Like, just for whatever reason, a 6'5" point guard with a great hand. Like, I don't know. Could anyone beat Shea at one-on-one? Like, given the fact that he's a pretty good on-ball defender now and has maybe the most varied package of one-on-one moves, could anyone beat him?
Okay, I'm gonna put Kyrie in this list or Luka.
Kyrie offensively is going to cook everyone. Like, there's still no touching Kyrie's handle.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like he would just give up on defense so he can get the ball back. Like, just hunt defensive rebounds. Like, at the end of
winners got to keep the ball.
Yeah, like at the end of He Got Game, where like the dad is just tired and just like waiting for a defensive rebound.
I mean, no, seriously, a one-on-one contest will be absolutely awesome. We can do it knockout style as well if we need to. It would take way too much time, but the thing with All-Star Weekend is pretty much all the best one-on-one players are already there. Yeah, they're the All-Stars.
Yeah,
that's why I don't want to see Rudy Gobert at the All-Star game.
I watched Jeremy Evans paint before he dunked. I got time on All-Star Weekend.
Wow.
Man, we can't talk about Jeremy Evans painting. Like that has triggered me. I'm not going to lie to you. Like that unlocked some bad memories.
Apologies.
Did he, by the way, paint a painting of himself dunking while also jumping over his own painting? Like it was like a painting within a painting. Inception.
He jumped over the painting and then unveiled the painting to reveal that it was a painting of him dunking over the painting. And it was like this is Jeremy Evanception, and we can't have
Who
this.
thought that was going to hit?
It's
man?
like a Matryoshka doll where it just like inside the painting, if you look really closely, was also him dunking over a painting of him dunking over a painting. It just gets progressively smaller. Dan, in seriousness, before we let you go here, All-Star related, Steph Curry suggesting yesterday maybe him and Sabrina doing something, whether one-on-one or just like, hey, we're going to add some a WNBA element to the three-point contest. That have your interest peaked for All-Star Saturday night?
I mean, I think at this point, the three-point contest has become kind of the main event.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you get more actual stars in it. There's, you know, that feeling of mounting like excitement as somebody just, you know, hits 20, 7, 8, 9 in a row. And then Sabrina Ionescu had like the greatest three-point shootout of all time.
37
so,
points, I think.
Yeah, the idea of seeing her and Steph go heads up there is like that I would check that out for sure. Not that I'm not, if anyone from Yahoo Sports is listening, like not that I would check out, not pay any attention to All-Star. Like I'm totally going to be doing my
You're
job.
Locked into the Ruffle celebrity game. Absolutely.
That's right. I'm breaking it down. We're giving grades like Pelton. It's going to be phenomenal. But but no, the Sabrina versus Steph of it sounds interesting to me.
Yeah, same. Likewise. I think my question is like which 3-point line are we using? You know, all that kind of stuff. But I think it's going to be a really cool competition. And I'm really happy that, like, Steph is accepting this challenge, too. And that Sabrina is also issuing the challenge to Steph. Like, it's just really cool, man. Like,
yeah. Also, the other part of it is, like, Sabrina, like, low-key has one of the most popular sneakers in the league now, too.
Yeah,
like, everyone's wearing them all the time.
They do look amazing.
I still haven't got one, but I heard they're great to hoop in, too.
Okay,
so, this is great. I mean, obviously, it's great integration for the league to blend the WNBA, too. And you can't fully do that during the NBA season because...
but this is way better than like the higher shooting stars contest. I don't know why I'm remembering them all by their appetizers. By the way.
This guy said Ruffles 8 times in this segment. Man,
my higher brother. All right.
Yeah, but like some women are playing internationally now. Canada's women are trying to qualify for the Olympics in a couple weeks here, so they wouldn't be able to. But anything you can do like that to showcase the talent and kind of, you know, the synergy between the two leagues. Also, it's just fun, man. Like we've seen Steph beat every NBA player at 3-point shooting for like 15 years now. We know
we actually need to bring in other competition. We really because this is better than when Kevin Hart low key tied Draymond Green at the Toronto 3-point shootout.
I'm not gonna lie. When you said, "Is there anything you'd like to add to All-Star Weekend?" the first thing I thought was like, I don't know. As long as we can make sure Kevin Hart's not involved this time around, like, are we? Can we just like make sure we're gonna delete if at all possible? But that's just me.
Yeah, he's moved on, man. He's trying to do like serious like heist movies and stuff now. Like he's trying to start his own Ocean's 11 franchise. So I think he's maybe putting comedy behind him as much as he can. He's like Jack now too. It's an interesting career path.
By the way,
he's like Mike Bibby now.
This is the worst thing to mention on a Toronto Raptors program, but there is video out there of Kevin Hart just absolutely stuffing the lights out of Kyle Lowry in a one-on-one game.
Come on.
Go look on YouTube. Kevin Hart.
These are
the
two pieces of homework we're sending you with. Is find a clip of Will stuffing Simu Liu in the RR3-on-3 tournament.
I was there.
And Kevin Hart stuffing Kyle Lowry.
That one was.
You hate to see it happen to a Charlotte Hornets legend. No way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah. Kyle, please, man, get yourself out of Charlotte.
No, I do need the Kyle Hornets jersey and Jose Calderon Warriors jersey are good. If I ever own a place and have like a basement, it's just the nonsense I would do it. This is why I'm not allowed to have money.
Yeah. All right. Nobody's invited to Blake Murphy's basement. Dan, I appreciate you. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, buddy.
And
my pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for having me.
There you go. Dan Devine. Check him out at Devine Intervention, the podcast.
Yeah.
No Cap Room, the podcast. Him and Jake Fisher.
Yeah, some Jake Fisher nuggets that we can touch on in the final segment here after a break as well. We can take a little look at this Clippers game too.
All right, let's take this last break of the week. I've been your host, Willow. You've been listening to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Welcome back to The Raptor Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. It's your host, Willow, Blake Murphy. What do we have left for you this week that we haven't touched on in 10 hours of podcasting?
We got a little bit of mailbag stuff left.
Got some mailbag.
We got some Raptors Clippers to talk about. A little bit around the NBA stuff if you care to.
All right. You know
some of it we already touched on, like Josh Hart calling Jalen Brunson a loser for not starting the All-Star game. Stephen A. debating which Pokemon to choose. What was the right answer for that question, by the way? Because
there actually is no right answer.
So you explained this to me during a break. I was never a Pokemon guy. I thought your options were Pikachu, Squirtle, and Charizard or Charmander or whatever, whichever one the baby one is.
Charmander, yeah.
But that's not your choices. You get a Bulbasaur or whatever.
No. So traditionally, I mean, in all the other games, you get one pick of 3 potential starters, and then in Pokemon Yellow, you get to pick you just get Pikachu as your starter to fit with the anime and the storyline of Ash Ketchum. Ash Ketchum leaving us this year. Jurgen Klopp leaving.
Ash Ketchum finally won a ring, and then he left.
Yeah, you see. Oh, I see. You know some Pokemon.
I know a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Yo, so what's the deal with Klopp? Your Liverpool manager self-sacked?
Yo, I'm telling you, I woke up this morning. All right, hit snooze like 10 times first time. All right. And then I was like, all right, let me check my phone. And then I just see a video message, alert from Liverpool. And I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. I click it and I'm like, oh my God, Jurgen Klopp is now going to leave the club at season 10. First off, he's a beloved figure. In an NBA setting, this would be
Pop?
Like Spo, if Spo retired. You know what I mean? They love him. You've won chips with him. I've seen various groups win chips with them. I think on a personality wise, honestly, there's not a person in the league, in the NBA, that has the gravitas and the person. I just love this guy, man. He's like my second dad. You know what I mean? That's ideally what you want from a coach. And so he's announcing that he's leaving. He's the energy. The reason he gave was look, I just put so much of my life into this. I just need a 1-year sabbatical, and I'm not going to coach again in England.
And he's not that old either, right?
No, he's 57. But he wants to step away from the game. I respect it. I don't want to even pry any further because I respect him and just everything that he's already given. It's already been so generous. But it was devastating. But also I found out it was he said that him and his whole team and the players have already known since November. And they've kept it under their hat for over a month now, which I feel in the modern sports landscape, to keep this big of news quiet for the entire team for 2 months is just kind of incredible.
Yeah.
It shows how much respect the players and everyone involved in the organization have for Jurgen. But Jurgen, he's still going to manage the rest of the season, and Liverpool's in 4 competitions, so hopefully we get all 4 for Jurgen. But yeah, man, just going to miss him, man. Great dude.
Damn, that's tough.
Lots of exits this year. Oh, what's up?
Derek's talking smack in the group chat here.
Oh,
so you
what's
guys
he saying now?
He said only 1 prem in 8.5 years, overrated.
Man. Yeah. I mean, if it wasn't for City, they would have 2 more. What could I say? They lost 2 by 1 point.
I don't know. I just assume Derek only cares about Porto anyway, or whichever top Portuguese team there is now.
Yeah, as I said to you before the show, Boha. Anyway,
wow, on air.
I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means.
Yeah,
I don't.
You can't get in trouble if you don't know what it means.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do a little. We'll throw a couple things at you here. Okay, so the most, I guess, bantery NBA news that'll come out of this weekend is Ben Simmons might be back on Monday.
Oh. I'm happy for him, honestly. The expectations have dropped so low that if he does anything positive, people will at least are we ready to support Ben Simmons again, or is he's still a meme kind of character?
It's just there's not a lot. It's tough because obviously he's been treated unfairly, and this is not the best example of how media and teammates and the league in general and the whole cycle treats a person. But also, it doesn't seem like he's done anything to help his cause at any point. Is it just
the cardigans?
I mean, it's not just that. But look, man, Tyrese Halliburton can dress like an old timey reporter.
Yeah, what's up with that? Why is Tyrese Halliburton?
I don't know. He's biting Trey Kirby's style.
Why is he dressing like a Peaky Blinder to every match? I don't understand.
I don't.
What's happening with him?
I don't know either.
Yo, Pascal, please ask your new friend.
No, Pascal's gonna start showing up like that too.
Oh, no Red Bull headband or no Red Bull hat?
The spicy blinders.
Maybe it's a Red Bull blinder hat.
All right. There you go. I'm just glad it was the
I was
edited version.
Not the anyway.
The Ben Simmons return is also mildly interesting for the trade deadline because that's such a substantial contract. If they could make something work.
How many
with
years are left on that thing?
Only 1 more year after this year.
Okay.
So it's not the right thing for the Raptors with all this flexibility that they've built. But
don't even think about it.
Someone could take an offseason flyer on Ben Simmons, get paid in assets to eat the $40 million and just see what's there. But I don't think it'll be relevant to that. Speaking of trade prices around the league, Jake Fisher dropped his latest at Yahoo Sports. Not a ton right now, as we talked to Mark Stein about. The Kyle Lowry thing happened because the Heat needed to move. Not looking great the first couple games here. But in general, things are probably going to grind down to the trade deadline now. So what we're hearing from Jake Fisher is, first of all, Kyle Lowry is not expected to join the Hornets.
Surprise.
They're going to look for another trade home for him, and this is going to feel a certain way. If he's bought out, Philly is presumed around the league to be a possible destination.
Did you get a sense that Kyle wanted to go home?
I got the sense
there was the rumors that the Raptors may trade him, for example. Yeah. I know people are like, was Maxey ever on the table? I don't think so, but still,
I don't think so either.
There was a talk at that time of would he go to Philly, and I don't know if he necessarily wanted to go home.
So, and I also got the impression that Philly wasn't giving him the deal Miami was giving him.
Yeah,
and maybe that was the more important factor than going home at that
for Kyle Lowry. Yeah, for sure. Kyle Lowry.
But at this point, maybe it's because you're getting your money for the year still. So obviously some teams can't sign him because he makes too much money and the new restrictions and stuff. But Philly's in the clear for that. Elsewhere in that, Jake Fisher, he's hilariously, he says the Jazz are both a buyer and a seller, which is just amusing to picture how Danny Ainge is going to, like the amount of leaks of all the trades Danny Ainge didn't make but almost made as both a buyer and a seller is going to be really, like, Danny Ainge is going to leak that he almost traded for Lauri Markkanen, even though Lauri Markkanen is on his team. That's where this is. That's where this is headed.
The only thing he hasn't done yet. Yeah.
Yeah. And then more relevant to the Raptors situation, Jake said that the current asking price on guys like Bruce Brown, Tyus Jones, Malcolm Brogdon is at least the first. Meanwhile, the Lakers are believed to have offered for DeJounte Murray, take the D'Lo money, the D'Angelo Russell money. He still has a contract for next year, so you have to take on the extra year. That 2029 first they can offer and a pick swap.
That's not bad because I think they can probably rope in a third team,
maybe,
and to take D'Lo because I don't think
they're playing well, but
he has been balling.
But we also know who D'Lo is. At this point, right?
I mean, the Lakers are interested in DeJounte. I mean, that's kind of interesting to me just because, like, I feel like the Lakers' backcourt is just not athletic at all. You know, it's like. Even if Gabe Vincent gets healthy again, which we haven't seen we haven't seen 7 for much of the year, but it's like Austin Reeves, D'Angelo Russell, like I don't know, like I think Murray, even though he's not as good defensively this year as he had been in the past, like still would be interested to see what he's got, especially for that Lakers team. And is he a clutch guy too?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Murray a clutch guy? Why am I thinking he's a clutch guy?
Who isn't a clutch guy at this point? Honestly, I'll tell you in 1 second.
Yeah.
I mean, he is a clutch guy. Yeah.
There you go. There. Wow. What a surprise. But I think the other part too is I think for Kyle, like, where do you actually want to see Kyle end up? Like, we obviously love Kyle, and Philadelphia is clearly one of the options, but I don't know if I would love to see Philadelphia with Kyle Lowry and Nick Nurse.
This answer is
would cheese me so much.
Awkward given the history of the Raptors, but I think the Knicks is my answer. They need a backup point guard. OG's there, so we're already tuned into Knicks games and watching. And while they've been like kind of a ha-ha rival for Villanova too.
Yeah.
And while they've been kind of a ha-ha rival for the Raptors, there's no actual like competitive animosity like there is with like I think Raptors fans would struggle to root for Philly, Milwaukee, or Boston to win.
Yeah.
And probably even Cleveland. The Knicks winning like does nothing to me. Like I don't want James Dolan to be happy. But if it made Kyle Lowry and OG Anunoby happy and made the Knicks even more of a threat to take out teams like Philly, Milwaukee, and Boston, I think I could get there.
Yo, I'm really happy you said that. That's actually my number 1 pick now.
Okay.
I mean, I would prefer for him to go to any place that gets him a possibility to play and win for a championship or whatever, but, like, that's good. Wow. A lot to think about. It's like him or Deuce McBride.
Deuce McBride, yeah.
Deuce McBride is a sick NBA name. By the way,
good name.
Sounds like a movie kind of like sports movie character.
Yeah, that's a good pull. All right, time now for Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. Take a chance. Haven't been a lot of these this week because the Raptors aren't playing. They are 8-point underdogs at home. Over under set at 235.5. If you missed it yesterday, Emmanuel Quickley will not play tonight. He suffered a thigh bruise in the Memphis game. He was trying to work through it. They're just going to give him a little bit more time with it. Jakob Poeltl, while he has been participating more in practice, he's still out for tonight. Marquise Noel is technically with the 905, but he's dealing with a hamstring strain that could threaten his availability for the G League All-Star game, which sucks. On the Clippers side, Zubats remains out. Moussa Diabate remains out, and Paul George is questionable, a late add to the injury report. He's been dealing with intermittent groin soreness, and that's flared up again. I don't have any inside information on this, but if you are heavy favorites in a game against a bad team missing 2 starters, and one of your most important players who has a history of injury is questionable, just play it safe.
Yeah. I mean,
is part of that me trying to hope this is not a 20-point game? Perhaps.
So I think with the Clippers, sometimes, and maybe I'm thinking about last year when the Clippers came to town, and the Clippers did beat the Raptors last year when they came to town. But I was watching that game and I was like, damn, this team is a veteran team. They're clearly built for the playoffs, and they're just not playing hard tonight. Like there were multiple moments where Kawhi would get a steal, and if he pushed all the way, he probably would get a dunk. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna slow up on the fast break. You know what I mean? And so I just felt like there were certain times when they weren't matching up that great. But I mean, yeah.
I mean, even look at the last beating, right? It was like the Raptors played like such a spirited game. We all came away from it so encouraged, and the Clippers were just like, yeah, we're going to win this now.
Yeah, Kawhi's like, oh, you're double teaming me? I'm going to drive around both of you and dunk the ball, and then Paul George's going to hit a clutch 3, and James Harden's going to do his thing too.
So, by the way, since the initial bad start with Harden, they're 25-7. They have the number 1 offense, the number 11 defense, and only Oklahoma City Thunder have a better net rating in that time.
Yeah,
they are above average to elite in every single category except defensive rebounding and forcing turnovers, where they're only average. Their biggest weaknesses are they're only average at those two things. Also, they are now north of 40% on threes. In the modern era, so minimum 23 points, 3-point attempts per game. Where do you think that ranks for a team 3-point percentage for a season? 40.1%.
In the modern era? I mean, there are probably some teams maybe back in the day that shot threes more selectively. But
yeah, so I'm saying 23 point a game, 3-point attempts a game minimum. So this takes us like back to 2000, like 7-ish maybe.
Well, speaking of 23 threes, I mean, God, that's exactly how many the Raptors attempted the other game against the Grizzlies. So we might be in 2007 as well. But I'm going to say top 5.
It is 4th.
Okay.
So number 1 is the 15-16 Warriors.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Number 2 is the 09-10 Steve Nash Suns.
Okay,
and number 3 is the Clippers a couple years ago.
Yeah, the Clippers have been a really good jump shooting team.
Yeah.
I mean, since they've got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, they're so lucky.
Luckily, the Raptors without Quickley have loads of 3-point shooting too, right?
Yeah. I want to go with the Raptors, but I think I'm going to go with the Clippers, man. Yeah.
All right.
I mean, that's a big line, but I mean, I don't know, man. But I would love to see the Raptors keep it close, keep it spirited, maybe even steal the win. I always want to stick it to the Clippers.
Give us a Friday night, man. Give us a Friday night.
Give Kawhi
Send
a huge
Lawrence
cheer.
Frank home unhappy.
Oh, yeah.
That was Between the Lines, brought to you by Bet Rivers. Take a chance. Sorry, you going to take a Lawrence Frank shot on the way out here?
Yeah, Lawrence Frank was also eating crushed instant noodles as he was camping out, squatting in Scotiabank Arena.
Yeah.
Tampering for Kawhi Leonard. How do you think Norm's going to do, man? There was a chance that Norm was going to, potentially, we kind of ran the idea that Norm was going to call into the show.
Yeah.
Didn't actually happen.
It's all right.
It's all good. We talked about Charmander instead.
Yeah. I bet Norm was a Pokemon guy. He strikes me as a Pokemon guy.
Probably. Do you think Norm is going to do an undershirt swap with Jonte Porter after the game?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. It'd be nice to see Norm have a good game. Like it's you don't want to see it against your team, I guess. But I love Norm's role in the Clippers. I obviously we watch a lot of the Clippers because they're such a good team. They're such a fascinating team, and I feel like I've brought it up a dozen times on the show this year. Just how unbelievable a fit Norm is with that group coming off the bench and just spacing out around those guys. All the threes he gets, and then his ability to attack those closeouts with all the space that those guys provide. He's just such an awesome fit with those guys. It's really cool to see him having so much success still in the same style that he had success in Toronto years later.
It is so cool to me because especially knowing where Norm came from and what he came into the league as, the fact that he's getting featured minutes on a team that has 4 future Hall of Famers on it, guaranteed, is pretty sick to me, man. It's never not cool to me to see Norm succeed, and one of the great guys around the league as well. So we'll see what happens tonight. Kawhi,
45.3% on threes this year for Norm.
Kawhi, play hard for us tonight, please, man. I just want to see Pete Kawhi, even if it's not for the Raptors anymore. But anyway, that does it for us today. I've been your host, Wolu. You've been listening to The Raptors Show on the Sportsnet Radio Network. Make sure to find The Raptors Show wherever you listen to podcasts and subscribe. And please rate and review the show. Thanks once again to co-host Blake Murphy, producer Mark Boffo, Daniele Franketsky, our board producer Derek Brandeo, a.k.a. Derek Brandao, and Jennifer Rolnick, David Sis, Jared Mandatai for helping behind the scenes. Big thanks to Dan Devine for joining us as well, and to all of you for sending in questions. And we'll be back next week.